counting down with me, and we have a friend. We have a friend joining us again here on Twitch and on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on the website, whatever, however you found this. And if it's years later, I hope we're all alive. In general, not just in general, because I could be dead. It could be 40 years from now. You're like, where's Dan? Well, he died. You don't know. I am the above average comedian, Dan Calchico. I'm on Twitter, DanLow83. Craig is at Craig Lagans. And our guest, Chris Green, is at Omega Squad. I did it right this time. I didn't call him his nickname before the Chris Green. I just said Chris Green is Omega Squad, and it worked out that way. Yes, I find after almost 8-9 years, I finally figured it the F out, Chris.
Well done, Dan. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. He has now been officially integrated in our world of Zoom. Skype is no more. Can you imagine how Skype works with everybody using it from work from home? I'm sure it works just fine. Piece of crap. I will say this: it's WrestleMania week, and I couldn't tell you how much I don't care. Just in general, I still love wrestling. I try to watch it, but it's just I don't know. So it's on week 3 of sitting at home and shutting down because of the Rona, and this is not coming from a place of I'm depressed, I want to die, and I certainly don't want to die. I want to, obviously the opposite, but I don't care. And I see people still arguing about ratings and about WWE charging $59 when you can just download the app because you're stupid. Because you're fucking stupid. I'm leaving that in. I'm not correcting that. I see all those things and I'm like, I just don't understand how you could find the time to worry about that kind of thing when the world's on fire. And I'm not talking about sitting there and dwelling on the general malaise of things because of how serious it is, but like, why? Let's just try to enjoy the show. I know WWE is the big evil corporation in the world, and they're terrible people, and Vince is a terrible person. I get it. They're the bad guys. AEW is the good guys. But everybody has been dealt a unlucky hand here with the situation. Nobody, rich, poor, well-to-do, middle class, not so well-to-do, places of power, we're all dealt this hand we have to deal with. WWE is doing their best. Still trying to put on shows. AEW is doing their best, trying to put on shows with the staff they have. And I can't believe there's still a virtual dick measuring contest. Chris, I don't know what you've seen because you stay away from social media, but I figured like this, the time where we're all supposed to come together from the top to the bottom of the world, and we're still complaining about wrestling ratings? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other things to be worrying about nowadays than ratings. I mean, ratings are going to be so screwed up right now. It doesn't matter because everybody's home, everybody's watching Netflix, and I don't know, guys. I don't know how your quarantine has been, but after about 3 or 4 hours of watching Netflix a day, I'm just starting to look like, okay, just kind of, I don't know what to watch. There's too many choices, and I don't really want to watch anything more. I kind of want to go do something else. So
yeah,
the ratings, I don't care. The ratings have been long from my mind, and there's just really there really shouldn't be a competition because a lot of these things are going to go away in several weeks. There's just not going to be anything because there's no new content to watch.
Yeah.
So get over it. Enjoy what you got now because it's not going to be the same in the next 4 or 6 weeks.
No.
That maybe longer, don't know. Hopefully not, because that's not going to be fun.
No, Craig, ratings.
Yeah, I don't even know why that's a thing. Honestly, I don't even know why wrestling is a thing now with what they're doing with no audience. Now, obviously,
we'll get to that
the whole showbiz mentality, show must go on, and all that. But wrestling with no crowd, it's not basketball. It's not hockey where you can still have a contest whether there's people there or not. Wrestling, especially the way it is now, it's audience fueled. and that's how you tell who's over, who's not, what moves work, what moves don't. AEW has at least some semblance of a right idea because they populate their matches with other wrestlers surrounding the ring or in the stands, and they cut to them with some snide heel comments or snide face comments or whatever. Something that NXT and SmackDown and Raw have been reluctant to do. Outside of the Matt Hardy unbelievable teleportation angle,
Yeah.
AEW really has hit on all cylinders when it comes to that. I don't know why ratings are a thing, but it's always going to be a thing as long as you have a TV show. As long as you're still putting on original programming every week, they're going to be looking at ratings. And now TV ratings are up across the board because, there's no more movies. More people watching TV now more than ever. Will history show when this is over and done with that AEW beat NXT in the ratings in 2020? Is that going to have an asterisk from March to whenever this is over? Or is that just going to be what the norm is now? That ratings are always going to dictate how a show goes, regardless of whether the content you're showing is you're not showing a live show. You're showing pretty much just a theatrical performance.
Now, I do get a little bit of pleasure seeing how this works out without the crowd and seeing people work. The Undertaker had a great promo.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Owens' promo was spectacular on Raw. Last week, AEW the Brody Lee dinner and promo was great, and the match, and then the Matt Hardy debut after that. Good stuff. But it's just a weird time.
It's not right. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not wrestling.
No.
Because there's no crowd.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How much, and it's really true for all sports. I mean, I know to Craig's point, you can actually have a game with other major sports without an audience, but with the lack of crowd in wrestling, it just isn't the same product. It just, the whole thing is going to have an asterisk for this whole period of time. Doesn't matter who wins because they're all crippled. They're missing half the formula. There's not, they might as well just that gets into the point of whether or not they should even be having shows because it just doesn't work quite the same. I mean, once in a while, if you had an empty arena match or something like that, fine. Or you have the more theatrical type matches, the Broken Universe stuff or whatever they're going to do with John Cena and Bray Wyatt this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Those can make sense in small doses, but as a whole product without the crowd, the wrestling doesn't work. It's what you could do. It's similar to a theater. To Craig's point, like you have a Broadway show, and my understanding, I'm not an actor, but it's very different without the crowd.
Yeah, it's pretty much a dress rehearsal every night.
Right, exactly.
Now, to that point, I just watched. I've got NXT on. I just watched Kenny Omega and somebody else practically kill each other. I legitimately thought while you were talking, Chris, that Omega broke his neck. They did a top rope belly to back suplex, and the guy holding him, whose name I forgot, I'm sorry, slipped.
True.
So I had a Droz flashback all over again. Thankfully, he's okay. But something like that, I mean. I wouldn't say that maneuver. I wouldn't use that maneuver for an empty arena. I don't advise doing it at all, just as a practice period, but certainly not for an empty arena. And the point, and if this is it going forward for AEW and NXT, we're going to keep going with no audience. Fine. There should not be a WrestleMania though.
Mm-mm.
I agree with, Jim Cornette at a point, make SummerSlam WrestleMania.
That was my point. I had it before Cornette.
Yeah.
I had it before him.
They've already passed that already, right? So they've already taped WrestleMania at this point. So
yeah,
Okay.
I don't. But I would have been canceling. I would have just canceled it altogether, along with everything else.
Well, I would have too. I mean, I guess with the Florida actually putting the shelter in place order today,
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that there isn't going to be any more content.
Yeah,
at
that's
least in
it.
Florida.
That's over
So,
now. The
yeah.
performance center's over. That's the thing. Let me just get this off my chest. WrestleMania should have stopped. It should have stopped. There's insurance. There'll be. It affects
Yeah.
the WWE is the least of who I'm worried about during this whole thing. At the very least, all
Yeah.
those indies I indicated 2 weeks ago and the week before that. Most of those indies are screwed, especially if none of the airlines or any of the venues are willing or able
Hmm.
to refund or take care of that. There's a lot of logistics when this clears up, and it is going to stop at some point. We just don't know when. That's the way it works. I just don't know when. So, however long that's going to be, the point is when this all clears up and wrestling tries to start again on an indie level, I don't know who's going to be around. I don't know if Primetime's going to be around. I don't know who is going to be able to run after this. There's going to be some. I mean, they're announcing companies start up right now in April. Like, stop it. Just stop it. Nobody cares. And I know WWE's the big evil bastard. Good. That's great. They're both owned by billionaires, so chill out. Meet the old boss. Meet the new boss. Name is the old boss. WrestleMania should not have happened. It's a stupid idea. I said it 2 weeks ago. I said it last week, and I'm saying it again this week. And it's only amplified now because Cornette said it. Move it to summer and have it SummerSlam WrestleMania. I tweeted it. I even tweeted it kind of sarcastically, guys, and I said, hold on, I have an idea. Hashtag WrestleMania SummerSlam.
You're right.
It's just crazy idea. It's just not safe. It's also not safe. You had Roman drop out now,
Yeah.
unless that's a big, huge swerve and they filmed something.
Mhm.
I don't. I got the network. I'm good. I just
too.
went through. I'm on the last week of June, 1996. I got a pile of DVDs that I've been told I must get through. I got video games I must get through, and I still do have to work every now and then. Ironically, I got extra podcasts to do this week, and the world froze, so I don't know how the hell that worked out. Now that I have more to record and produce, it's like, what? I don't know. Wait, what? But yeah, WrestleMania, Chris, since Craig and I already talked about it, WrestleMania should have stopped. There's no question. It was a dumb idea to even continue it this way. It's stupid. I hate. Everybody's talking about how great the empty. It's stupid. I hate this. It looks stupid. It looks contrived. It looks forced. Nobody wants to be there. Everybody's probably terrified to get sneezed on or it's stupid. It's goddamn stupid.
I mean, just take the fact that it's not WrestleMania.
No,
I mean,
it's not.
Period. It's just not going to be WrestleMania. By forcing the issue and slapping WrestleMania on it, doing it over 2 nights for whatever reason that was, it's just not the product you're putting in here. You're potentially even hurting the brand name because of it. You're doing something that doesn't make sense. You're delivering a product that is going to be inferior. I don't care. Everybody's probably going to do their best, or they've already done their best, I guess, technically. But I'm sure we're going to see a bunch of people who have really done their best to make this event as entertaining as possible with the fact that there isn't an audience there and there isn't anybody to play off of. But, I mean, the WrestleMania moments that we all remember are all because of 1, 2, 3, and the crowd roars.
Yeah.
Or the crowd chants, or the crowd boos, or the crowd does something. That is, it is by far the biggest ingredient to a successful WrestleMania, and you don't have it in trying to make do. I mean, you're not making any money this way. The investors are fine. Investors will understand that this is not within anybody's control. I mean, everybody's stock's down. Everybody's, unless you're, except for grocery stores and Amazon.
Yeah.
So you are. I mean, so everybody's going to get a pass for the first 6 months of this year. I mean, WWE included. So there really isn't a reason to keep WrestleMania going. If anything, you should have done the Olympics thing and just said, we're just going to kick it down the curb. We're going to just go back next year and do it the right way. And as you said, the SummerSlam is SummerSlam, and it's effectively your WrestleMania this year. Yeah. But it doesn't have it. Just skip it, because it's just WrestleMania 36 is just going to be throwaway. There's no rhyme or reason to it. You don't need it. Nobody's going to remember it. Nobody's going to like it. I don't think. I think there's going to be bits and pieces that people are going to find entertaining, but it's not a WrestleMania. It's call it Takeover, whatever you want to call it. Just something other than WrestleMania.
It baffles my mind that they're pushing through. It's just. I mean,
isn't the rumor that it was all Vince's push too? Like, nobody really wants to do it except for Vince.
Yes, it's Vince. Of course, it's Vince. It's Vince. I pointed out weeks ago before anybody else, but everybody else who has Twitter clout got it before me. I pointed out that the man. A man fell from the ceiling and died in the ring, and the show went on. What makes you think he was going to say, okay, everybody go home, we're not doing WrestleMania? Nobody in their right mind thought that. And not to dog on anybody else who is a perceived billionaire, but and that weighs on your decision on how things run. But I knew he was.
Nobody would have cared.
No, nobody would have cared. Nobody would have cared. We could all have moved on with our lives and focus on stuff. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's not safe.
I mean, they're arguably going to get more press out of replaying WrestleManias on ESPN than they're going to get from WrestleMania 36 at all.
And you're going to get more views too.
Yeah, entirely.
Yeah. And ESPN at this point is starved for content.
Yes.
So it'll be like, gee, I wonder what perceived sporting event. I mean that sarcastically, folks. Would I be able to? Oh, WrestleMania, wrestling in general. There's just. I mean,
and
ESPN.
Why are they doing it? Because of the size of the crowd. Their players showing the WrestleManias from stadiums.
Yeah, sure.
Huge crowds, the huge, everything that we're missing now. So, yeah.
I have no desire, want, or care, and I will tune in. But it's just there's other stuff going on, guys. Like, I don't understand why you had to do it, Vince.
But it's like Saturday is like I'm going to choose between WrestleMania or watching a replay of the 2003 NCAA championship where Syracuse won. And I'm going to be like, nah, I'm going to watch the Syracuse thing, and then I'll go back and watch WrestleMania.
I was going to say, I think I know what you're watching.
Yeah, I was going to watch the 2017 NCAA when Villanova won. And then watch it again in 2008 and 2018.
Was that 17 and 18? Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
Everything seems like a world ago.
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do.
I don't know. Like I said, I got a pile of stuff to go through, so I'm good.
Oh, I've got plenty of things to watch because this is my wheelhouse. I've been training for this my entire life.
And that's that's the thing. I don't want to rant on it, but I cannot understand. You were asked to just hide in your house.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping the food supply line.
Mm.
Nobody's killing the power. This isn't martial law, Craig.
Yeah.
As you were saying. This is just stay off the streets.
Yes.
I understand people need to go outside and exercise. Even I have. I understand that sometimes you do need groceries. But all this, there is no excuse. Looking at you, Florida. Looking at you, Jersey. That these overprivileged times, it's 2020, that you can't park your ass in your in. Oh, I almost cursed again. I'm only allowed in one f-bomb. That you can't park your ass in front of the television, or it's just in your property. Kelly goes for a walk. I go for a walk. We'll walk the dog. This is serious business, guys. I just thought people were, like. It's no secret I don't like our current administration. I don't give a damn. And I always said tongue in cheek, well, they're all morons. I'm starting to think that I am actually correct. Because like, why are people being this stupid? I don't get it. I don't get it. But priorities, man. Priorities. Once you saw they were driving refrigerated trucks into New York, I would have. As I put my hands on my mouth, I just washed my hands. But yeah, I want to reiterate, I love wrestling still, guys, but watching it out of routine. I'm getting no joy out of this because it's just. I was getting joy out of the old matches they were showing. They showed WrestleMania. They showed the Triple Threat. A hell of a match. I know people complained about the end, and there was a broken bone involved, but that's a hell of a match. They showed the Royal Rumble main event we were at live with.
Really? Yeah.
They showed the Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and God, now I'm drawing a blank.
Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins, where we were sitting where we were, and all of a sudden, after being out for like 5 minutes, this big wall jumps up inside. All of a sudden, he's appeared, and he just kills everybody. It was a great match. What? I just remember looking at you and Dean going, "What? Where'd he come from?" And we both you, Justin, you, and Dean were both like, "What? Where did he come from?"
Yeah, it's like yes.
So quick.
God, I missed that amazing match. It's
a great match.
Yeah.
It's a great match. And then they had Daniel Bryan go out, and it was the end of the night.
That was the end of the night.
It is one of the few events I've been to where the building, other than a Flyers game, Flyers, where it's been so happy, and then later the energy just sucked out of from the roof. It's just that hard.
And even The Rock couldn't say that.
Oh yeah, The Rock came out. All I see in my head is when he raised his hand the last time. He was looking around, going, "Why are you what?" I'm like, Houston, we have a problem. Abort! Yeah, no, they didn't, did they? So, I guess I got nothing else. Well, Chris, have you seen any wrestling, any MMA stuff this first month of being locked away?
No, I haven't seen any wrestling really. I've kept abreast of what's going on, but I mean, I don't want to watch an empty arena show. I don't. I have no desire to watch it. I mean, I need something. And I had planned on watching WrestleMania. I watched Elimination Chamber, and that was fine. But it's really just a weird time to be trying to watch any kind of wrestling, and it's just like it doesn't feel like WrestleMania season at all.
Well, there is something, and it came just in time, just in the nick of time. They could not have known, the creators of the show, that it came at just the right time. But Chris, Mr. Squad, have you seen any episodes of The Dark Side of the Ring?
Yes. I watched the Benoit one.
Yes. Did you see the New Jack one last night?
I had not seen the New Jack one last
night.
Oh,
my God.
So I did have that on my queue today, but I didn't get to it today.
Please do, because I've never seen a televised assault before. Not since Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald on screen have I seen a live televised assault.
My God.
New Jack's Dark Side of the Ring is everything. Like, think of the worst thing you know about New Jack, and times that by 10. And you won't even have scratched the surface.
Oh my God!
On that.
Reactions I've been seeing from everybody on Twitter they thought they knew Jack.
And the people that are in it, Chris, D'Lo Brown, Jim Cornette, the people that have known the New Jack for a long time, even they're saying, I didn't even know this about him.
Wow.
And there's clips that D'Lo Brown is seeing for the first time. And, and they broke in together. And he's like, I didn't know that. So, yes, we talked about the Benoit episode last week. I didn't get your thoughts. What did you think of
Yeah, I mean, the Benoit thing's always been a matter of contention for this podcast.
Yeah.
Honestly, too. Way back when
Yeah,
when
I'm
we
right.
did
You're
this,
wrong. I'm kidding.
and we talked about it. It's I had different opinions than Dan and Dean did. It's hard to watch that. I think it was harder to watch the Eddie stuff. The first half
Yeah.
killed me in a
Yeah.
lot of cases because I was devastated when Eddie passed.
As
And
was I. Yeah.
And I think that first half really hit home to me, and I think to a lot of the audience, as to why Eddie's death was so devastating to Benoit,
Mm-hmm.
and why it started this chain and this downward spiral for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that was fully appreciated. Definitely wasn't fully appreciated in the moment by anyone outside of the professional wrestling circles. I think we as fans kind of knew that was the reason, or at least had something to do with it. But I don't think the mainstream media ever really made that connection. Eddie was just another one of the litany of people they went through when they said, hey, wrestlers are passing young. Why is this? Is it steroids? Is it whatever it is, drugs, all that jazz? But that was, to me, that connection was really important to the whole series of events. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that first part was really well done as far as really conveying how close these two men were. And, I mean, call it a bromance, call it a, platonic work
Hetero life
spouse, hetero life mate. Yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for. Type scenario. That, think about losing your spouse or losing someone who's that critically important to your day-to-day mental health.
Yeah.
And have that suddenly taken away from you, and then have to go in front of all these people doing all these things that you've always done with this person.
Speaking
because
of
you
not
have a
stopping
family.
the show.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really I really thought that it was a very well done 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they took a side significantly. I think it was very well kind of a journalistic kind of view of it. And
Here's what happened. You make your own decision.
Make your own decision. Can you separate Chris Benoit, the character and the wrestler, from Chris Benoit, the murderer? Can you? I don't know. Some people could, some people can't, and that's still true today. So I think it was, I think we've had the distance now to be really kind of fully appreciate the whole thing. I think it killed me to see David.
Yeah.
And how much his life has been unfairly affected.
Yeah.
By all this kind of tragic events, and he's got to suffer through it. Mm-hmm. He's never going to be able to say, my dad was, the main event at WrestleMania 20, because it's all tainted, and that's one of my favorite main events in WrestleMania of all time.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite moments in wrestling history.
And we can never really appreciate it for what it was, now, and it's really. But take that as fans, and then take that as if you're his guy's son. You're the son, and you don't have that, and he's got to live with the Benoit name. I mean, why he hasn't changed his name is beyond me. I guess I probably would have in his place. So I guess it's actually probably a strength of his that he's still willing to maintain his name and be proud of his name in the face of all these things. But I don't know. It was a very good show. Very good documentary, I thought.
I pointed out last week, it was last week we talked about it. I think. I don't know. They're all blended in right now. Uh, my where I was talking about the very thing you said, Chris, where people are just unfairly unfair to him about the whole thing, and one of the particulars I remember was the when he said, "I'm going to use the name Chris Benoit Jr." when he wants to break into wrestling, and people were like, "You can't do that," and they were not nice about it to him. I'm like, no, 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 no. Wait, this is his son. This is you don't get to tell him. That's his name. You can't tell Tamina Snuka can't be Tamina Snuka now because
Yeah.
her dad was an a-hole. like what? Like what? That's not how that works at all. Just the unfair flack he's gotten just for being his son is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
and to me, this case, real quick, I'm sorry. Vince doesn't like two names anyway. He wants everyone to have one name anyway.
That's true.
So
well, they call him Benoit.
true.
Whatever.
Call him, yeah, well,
Call him
I mean,
Benoit
it's not going to
Balls.
happen,
Whatever.
right? It's just not going to happen.
Sure.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, people who are wrestling fans would know who he is, regardless. He doesn't
sure.
need to advertise.
I mean, he looks just like him.
Benoit. I mean, we all know Curtis Axel is Mr. Perfect's son. So
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah, Joe and
no,
yeah, Joe Henning,
you know?
it doesn't have that same pop.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I really hope that he does get to be able to break in, but he's going to have to be realistic. He's not going to be able to use that name, regardless. It just is what it
Sure.
is. I don't.
Yeah, but you're not going on Twitter and telling him what a POS he is for even insinuating it.
No, I am not. That's true.
That was my point. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get
your
to
point
make
is
those...
your point. No, your point is valid. I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, okay, that was good because you're not going on there like, well, you don't have a say in the matter. You're Joe Schmo from, Walla Walla, Washington doesn't get to have a goddamn say in the matter. Was my point.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. What are they saying over in UFC world about when this is going to what they're doing during all of this? Because I know they had. Well, he was defiant toward the end. I know old Dana White, but
Still is in a lot of cases.
Oh no.
They did events. They did a couple empty arena events, which for MMA is not as bad, particularly because like with MMA events, like the first few matches, the early qualifiers, the early prelims, I mean, there's usually a fairly empty arena anyway. So it doesn't really matter as much with MMA. But, I mean, Dana has been really defiant about, I'm going to do empty arena shows and it's not going to matter. But he's been shut down in a lot of cases. His main event, he was trying to get Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson. That got canceled just today, officially. Nurmagomedov pulled out because of coronavirus fears, which, duh.
Yeah, thank you.
So I don't think we're going to see any more UFC events in the near term, regardless of whether or not Dana wants to put them on. I don't think there will be any unless he's now. That does not say that Dana couldn't find an Indian reservation or another country that would be willing to let him put on an event, and he might try to do that. It could happen.
Wow.
But I don't see it. Wow. I think I think the backlash is going to be so huge, it's going to be not worth it.
Just wow at this point. Wow that the disconnect. Vince, not even to a certain extent, and also Vince, the disconnect of it all is just baffling to me. And he's risked.
In fairness, UFC needs the money.
Oh, sure. Sure.
I mean, as opposed. Well, let me put it this way: it's not so much UFC as its parent company. Needs the money because they've been basically they had a aborted public stock offering, and they've basically drained the UFC of all its cash reserves at this point. So they've sucked the UFC dry at this point. So there's a cash crunch over there, and
that still doesn't.
So
matter.
I think I think that's why they're trying to keep the UFC events going. But
sure. Wow.
I mean, you don't have ticket sales. I mean, I guess pay-per-views are a thing, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're not going to get everybody you want. So
I want to welcome No Shirt Kurt to our Twitch stream. That's a name I've not seen before, so I wanted to point that one out.
What
No shirt, Kurt. Well, we're wearing shirts here.
We're wearing
what up,
shirts, yes.
NSK?
NSK. Well, it was NSC.
Oh, sorry,
NSC.
NSC.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's with a C.
Yeah, I had a 50-50 shot with that one. As long as it
Yeah,
wasn't a
pretty much.
Q.
Hey, that's a nice shirt you got on there, Craig.
Uh,
Did you forget what
that's
you
how
were
I feel
wearing?
right. Yeah, that's how I feel right now about this
Yeah,
whole.
damn. Yeah.
How about
Yeah,
professional wrestling and continuing with no audience? Is exactly
I
how I
think we're
feel.
I think we're all there.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think
It took a while. Like, I will be honest, the first week I was like, yeah, good. Normalcy. Somebody's
Mm,
got to do it. And then as the days wore on and I saw Twitter still, I was just like, okay, I can't be part of it anymore. I unfollowed somebody yesterday who was just incapable of understanding English words I was putting in front of him.
hmm
As irrational as people, I think. I was on his side about something, and he was like, and he came back at me. I was like, all right, never mind. I can't even have a conversation with perceived friends at this point, so I'm just gonna back off. I don't care. I don't care about how many people are going to what shows. In the past, I don't care. Brian Alvarez is still posting ratings. As soon as he gets it, he's got to whip his dick out and go, "Oh, the ratings!" Right on Twitter. It's just calm down, get a haircut. As I say, I can't. He can. I can't. I can't get a haircut. And guess what? I'm not cutting this hair by myself, so we'll see how that develops in the next couple months. You're muted.
oh yeah, I could if I had to. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll put it like this: it's either gonna get completely cut off, which I haven't had in since I was 14, or it's gonna be playoff hockey season before October hits, and it's gonna get hot.
Just go full mullet.
I might have no choice because it's not growing as fast in the front as it is in the back anymore.
And while we lament about our current present day situation, what better reason than to harken back to a time where WrestleMania was populated with not the universe, but wrestling fans?
Huh?
Yes, it happened back when belts were defended and won and lost, not titles. And back during a time when it was called not sports entertainment, but professional wrestling. This, gentlemen and ladies, is the wrestling historian. Now, this week in professional wrestling, Dan, was a very important week in the history of professional wrestling. Several landmark things occurred that are still being felt to this day. March 26th, we're going to go back to March 26th, 2001, the 286th and final edition of WCW Monday Nitro.
Great. Why don't you just kill me now and get it over with? That's just great.
We come full circle. You started off this whole episode about being dead, and I'm not dead. And when you listen to this, I'll be dead, and I'm dead, and dead.
All
So-
right,
He's already
Craig,
depressed, Craig.
you've made your point. Surprisingly,
Well,
I'm not depressed,
On
but
this
now I am.
March 26th, 19 years ago, in Panama City, Florida, WCW's Monday Nitro on TNT aired its final show. Booker T, the United States Heavyweight Champion, defeated Scott Steiner to become the WCW Heavyweight Champion. So Booker ended the day with both belts. And Bam Bam Bigelow was on the card against Sean Stasiak, and Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio won the WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship. And in their last match, Ric Flair called out his greatest opponent, the man known as Sting, and they had the last match in WCW history. And after that match is over, we go live to Monday Night Raw from Cleveland on TNN, not yet USA. And Vince McMahon declared that he now owned WC, that he was the winner of WCW, and asked the fans who they'd like to see, yay or nay, amidst the chants of Goldberg, of course. But this was one of the most incredible nights in professional wrestling history, to go from uh, Nitro to Raw and seeing the little WWE logo on the bottom of Nitro was kind of surreal. And at the end, when Vince went going on about how he owned everything in the palm of my hands, and spelling out Jeff Jarrett's name as he one of the people that he was not going to work for WWE again. Um, Pause.
Yeah.
Hear that beeping, my brother. Sorry.
Oh well, we're not going to pause the wrestling historian, but I'm going to go to. We're just going to go to being Chris here. I will never forget the end. The Sting and Flair match was so bad. It was bad. Both
It was
guys.
bad.
Both
It wasn't
guys were.
good.
Both
Wasn't
guys were
good.
there. We're not pausing. We're just rolling, Craig.
Okay.
The Sting and Flair match was just two guys that just wanted this over. um, but I do remember going back to what Craig was saying for the little while there when Shane came on, and I really thought the WWE was going to do the right thing. I'm so stupid.
But that was a great moment, though, when they played
Yeah.
Shane's music and
Yeah.
everyone in Cleveland was waiting for Shane, and he shows up in Panama City. That was another great moment in wrestling history.
It really was. I really had hope, like I said, that Vince and WWE would do the right thing and would do the right thing, but do a thing and keep WCW rolling. And I do remember there were dates booked under that name and all that stuff. And it was apparent soon after that was never going to happen.
Well, in fairness, the no compete clauses that the WCW wrestlers signed, and there was only so many wrestlers that could come right over. Unfortunately, you had the best one at the time, along with the worst one, namely Booker T and Buff, as the only ones that could effectively wrestle for WWE right away. Like I said, very unfortunate because there was no Goldberg, there was no Sting, there was no uh, not even Hall and Nash, or even a Rey Mysterio or Kidman or Steiner or any of those guys could come over. So they, yes, I'm not denying they did severely drop the ball, and what you had maybe the greatest angle in professional wrestling history dropped in your lap, WWE versus WCW. But with what they had to work with, they can only do so much. Imagine you inherit an NBA team against the best world basketball players in the world, and the only NBA team you can get is the Knicks. That's there's no Golden State Warriors on there, there's no Sixers on there. It's just you just have the Knicks, so you got to play with what you got. So,
Hey,
and I
hey,
what
real quick, just to deviate from historian for a second, do you know where AEW's live from tonight?
do I? No, I don't know where
Oh,
they're
okay.
live
Because
from
I
tonight.
just saw. I wasn't watching it live. I just saw a shot, and I'm like, that's not the amphitheater they've been using. So I don't know where they were. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
That's okay. But yeah, on that day, March 26, 2001, first time WWE and WCW on at the same time. And the weird part is uh, WWE did a 4.7 that night for TNN, and Nitro did a 3.0, which
That's
uh,
fine. Totally fine.
any current professional wrestling show would kill for right now. A 3.0. But yeah, the last Nitro ever took place March 26, 2001. March 27th, 1988. Another incredibly historic day in professional wrestling history, Daniel and Chris. Because March 27th, 1988 was WrestleMania 4. This is a year after the record-breaking WrestleMania 3, they bring it indoors to WrestleMania 4 at some millionaire's Plaza Hotel and Casino. And this was supposed to be the long-awaited rematch between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. We got to see the first time in the opening, the 20-man battle royal, won by Bad News Brown. But for the first time, Bret Hart turned face, and he would remain a face for the next 10 years in the company. Randy Savage would win his first World Championship, WWF Championship, defeating Ted DiBiase in the final. And all that took place that afternoon. WrestleMania was not prime time yet.
No, no.
I remember seeing that on closed circuit TV at the Spectrum. And then I came home just in time to watch NWA Clash of Champions. Very first time the NWA and the WWF went head to head on the same day. And the NWA Clash of Champions, also incredibly historic. You had maybe one of the best tag team matches ever televised at that point. The Midnight Express versus Fantastics. Still gives me goosebumps when I watch it now. And the main event, get this, Ric Flair versus Sting.
Oh.
So 13 years ago, almost to the day, Ric Flair and Sting had their first televised match, one-on-one. 13 years later, they had the last televised match for the NWA. They went to a 45-minute draw. People still consider that Sting's coming out party. Ric Flair, even with the draw, put him over, made Sting a star. And interesting to know, we're talking about we're in this episode of HIAC Talk Radio, talking about ratings. The buy rate for WrestleMania 4 was a 6.5. But the ratings for Clash of Champions was a 5.8. So at the end of the day, more people saw Ric Flair that day than Hulk Hogan.
Wow. As it should be.
Yeah. But that was the turning point in the professional wrestling. That was really when it was established that there was really just the big two, the WWF and the NWA. But that was the first time they went head to head on a Sunday afternoon. No, there was no prime time. WrestleMania 4 and NWA Clash of the Champions both took place Sunday afternoon, March 27th. Important day in wrestling history. March 29th, 1987. I just talked about that before. March 29th, 1987 was WrestleMania 3. Pontiac Silverdome, 93,173 is the announced attendance. A lot of people dispute that figure. Some say it was closer to 80,000 or 85,000. Whatever it was damn big, damn huge, and it felt like 93,173 people there. It sure as hell looked like there were 93,173 people there. You talk to the people that were there, it sure sounded like there were 93,173 people there. So whether that number is real or inflated, it's still the largest crowd ever to see a professional wrestling event at that time. It was, I saw that again, saw it at the Spectrum on closed circuit TV. Paid my money to see that, and when they showed the big crowd up there, the whole crowd of the Spectrum, there was about 15,000 people there. We were screaming because we'd never seen anything like it, a crowd that big. Not going to go over the whole match because, you guys know more than anything else. The highlights of that, probably the first big pop of the night, the afternoon for me. Again, this is Sunday afternoon, folks. Wasn't at night. Just like all the great sporting events in history, it used to be on Sunday afternoon. Super Bowls were on a Sunday afternoon. The World Series was during the afternoon. The NBA Finals would be Sunday afternoon. WrestleMania was no different. the first big pop of the night of the afternoon. I just said afternoon, and now I just said night. Was during the Bolsheviks match against the Killer Bees, and who should come running down the aisle, making his WWF debut, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh,
Now I had no idea that Hacksaw had left. This was back during the expansion. That Hacksaw had left Mid South. I know he hadn't been on TV for a while, and because
yeah.
I wasn't watching the WWF regularly, I was watching nothing but the NWA. Apparently, Duggan had been. They've been showing vignettes of Duggan leading up and talking about how much he doesn't like foreigners. Tough guy, and he made his WWF debut, running down the aisle to interfere on behalf of the Killer Bees against the Bolsheviks. And
I don't
obviously
like
the
foreigners. God damn it.
Hogan and Andre was the main event. Andre's first loss, quote, that anyone seen, but obviously the match that stole the show, the match that probably made more fans into professional wrestlers. Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat. More wrestlers have said when I saw that match, that's what made me want to be a professional wrestler. And and it still holds up. Two of the best, uh, Savage and Steamboat, and that WrestleMania 3 did an 8.0 buy rate. That was a zenith. That same date, March 29th, 1998, 11 years later, WrestleMania 14 at the Fleet Center in Boston. So 11 years later, we're back indoors, and it's a 19,028 people. And that particular WrestleMania was notable for many reasons. The opening match was the last-ditch effort to recreate or to reboot the Road Warriors. It was the debut of LOD 2000. They won a 15 tag team battle royal, and some of the tag teams involved were the Rock and Roll Express and the Heavenly Bodies. The only time those three teams, have ever been in the same ring together. But it was won by the Road Warriors, LOD 2000, foregoing the tights and wrestling in trunks and being managed by Sonny. And they're, again, the last ditch attempt to squeeze the last ounce of the Road Warriors out. This is 14 years after their debut. I'm sorry, 15 years after their debut. But the Road Warriors won the tag team battle royal. Cactus Jack and some dude named Chainsaw Charlie won the WWF tag team titles from the New Age Outlaws, and with special guest referee Mike Tyson in tow, wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt underneath. Steve Austin defeated Shawn Michaels in what will be Michaels' last match in WWE for 5 years, and would start the Austin era, and some would say would ignite the Attitude Era. But March 29th, 1998 was Steve Austin's first World Championship. And I said the WrestleMania 3 buy rate was 8.0. The WrestleMania 14 buy rate was a 2.3.
Huh.
That's quite a dip. Also,
Slightly.
March 29th, happy belated birthday to one of the greatest talkers in professional wrestling history. Whenever I talk about my favorite wrestlers on the mic, he's always in my top 5. He's 1/3 of the greatest 6-man tag team of all time. Happy belated 61st birthday. P.S. Michael Hayes.
No comment.
Yeah. Moving on. March 30th, 2003. WrestleMania 19. Are you sensing a theme here, folks,
No.
of this particular edition of Wrestling Historian? March
Almost like something
30th.
scheduled every year.
Yeah. But this week was it was a very important one, Chris. March 30th, 2003, WrestleMania 19, Safeco Field in Seattle, 54,097 folks in attendance. And I remember watching this with my buddies. We'd all get together and watch WrestleMania every year. And this was one of the WrestleManias I was most disgusted with because it seemed like this was like more. We talked about it at the beginning of this segment, Dan, how they botched it and how the WCW guys coming in the WWE, and I just had my gut feeling was like because they're in the WWE, they're never going to get a chance to shine, and this WrestleMania more than ever proved it because I said March 29th, 1998 was Shawn Michaels' last bout for a while. He wouldn't come back for 5 years. Well, 5 years later, he returned and he beat Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
After Chris Jericho gave him a picture perfect super kick. And it's like, why the hell is Michaels going over Jericho and Michaels is not the future of the company? Chris Jericho is. Didn't matter. Further, making me throw up in my mouth, Triple H defeated Booker T for the WWE champion. Well, the WCW belt was on the line.
Yeah.
But not putting Booker T over. And after giving Booker T the pedigree, it takes Triple H 88 minutes to crawl over and pin Booker T, which I thought was way just absolutely unnecessary.
Blatant.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So that pissed me off. Hulk Hogan went up against Vince McMahon with Roddy Piper as a special guest referee. The only good thing that happened all night was when Piper hit both McMahon and Hogan with a pipe and then gave them both the finger before he left the ring. And in the match of the night, or in the highlight of the night, and which could have been the end of a career of the night, the now classic Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle main event heavyweight title match. Brock Lesnar won the world heavyweight title from Kurt Angle, but not before almost killing himself with the shooting star press 28 minutes into the match and landing on his head. Angle had to call the audible because he could see Lesnar was clearly out of it. F5, F5.
The engine's running, but nobody's driving.
Yeah, nobody was home. But yeah, that was one of the most, yeah. 54,000.
That was the most, yeah.
54,000 people could have just saw the end of a man's life right there. I remember watching it with my buddies. We were like, "Oh God,
God, he's dead." If his neck,
dead.
His neck wasn't the size of a garage, he would have died.
Yeah.
Yes.
But man, I said, what is he doing? And we were all like, "What is he doing? Why is Brock going? What is he doing?" And then one of my buddies, Mike, said, "Well, he did the shooting star press in OVW."
Yeah, it was 100 pounds lighter.
Yeah, and how many years ago was that, Mike? He said, but it was like, no, but he can do it though. Was the defense? But he can do it though. It's like, yeah, congratulations. You know, I could do a handstand. Don't do it now.
Exactly. That's exactly
So
it.
yeah. March 30th, 2003. To quote Ricky Bobby, yeah, that just happened.
I can stand up and do a helicopter with my penis. I'm not going to do it on camera because I can.
Challenge accepted. Here we go.
No. I'd have to edit that, and I don't know how to pixelate.
Okay. Amber's
You wouldn't
standing
need that
up.
many anyway, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Amber's sitting on me, so I can't do it anyway.
Pussy's always holding that penis back. Thank you.
Boom. Damn. March 31st, 1985. Moving on. March 31st, 1985. Huge day in professional wrestling history because March 31st, 1985 was the date of the very first WrestleMania. Madison Square Garden. This was a huge. We won't have to go over the whole, card. Everyone knows what happened. I told you do I tell you my WrestleMania story every year at this time?
So what? Tell it again.
About the first time I went to WrestleMania. Chris, the first WrestleMania, March 31st, 1985. I was a college student, a freshman at Florida Southern University in Lakeland, Florida. So back when wrestling was king, I not only got to watch all the different territories every Saturday afternoon, Mid Atlantic, AWA, World Class, WWF, Georgia, Championship Wrestling, and Championship Wrestling from Florida right in my backyard. But I would go to the Lakeland Civic Center and watch wrestling. And it just so happened, WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania was going to be on closed circuit TV at the Lakeland Civic Center. And I went to Florida Southern College, and Lakeland Civic Center was a 30-minute walk from campus to the Civic Center. But I had done it before, and weather was always great. And did I mention I was a freshman in college? So I had $13 to my name, period. Now, when I went to see Championship Wrestling from Florida at the Lakeland Civic Center, tickets were like $5 to $8, always. And sometimes I would get a soda. So it was cheap night. So I had, wrestling, food, all that for $8 or more. So I had $13 to my name. So I figured, yes, I could watch wrestling and maybe get something to drink. I walked about 10 minutes and I went back and said, wait a minute, let me just get all of my money just in case I'm on to buy a soda or something. So I had exactly 50 cents. About 38 cents of that was pennies. So I take a 30-minute walk to the Lakeland Civic Center with $13.50 to my name. I walk up to the counter to buy my ticket, thinking it was regular, championship wrestling from Florida prices. Price for one adult ticket for WrestleMania, $13.50.
Wow.
There you
So
go.
so I watched the first WrestleMania without a dime in my pocket, and I watched something special. Honestly, and if you're a fan of the WWE, or watch any Madison Square Garden cards, it was just a Madison Square Garden card already. It was a typical Madison Square Garden card, but it just had more eyes on it than ever before. And outside from Mr. T and Cyndi Lauper being at ringside, there really was no difference from any other. I mean, SD Jones versus King Kong Bundy, Ricky Steamboat versus the Destroyer, who was Matt Bourne in the mask, Andre versus John Studd. They had that match before. But some of the stuff that went on that you guys might not know, that leading up to it, some of the money that Andre the Giant won from John Studd after the Body Slam Challenge, the $10,000 Body Slam Challenge, he threw out about $300 of real money before Heenan grabbed the bag.
The fact
So
I never saw Heenan jump over a rope that quick. He grabbed that
yeah,
bag and one hopped. Boom! And he was good at
yeah.
getting over the ropes. He sold the
He was
ropes.
the best at
He
going
wa-
over the ropes.
But
yeah.
that time, I've never seen him faster. Like, no! Out he went.
Also, what you may not have known, leading up to WrestleMania, Vince McMahon, he had already got the company from his father, but he took out a loan with a huge balloon payment that was coming up due. So he sunk all of his money into this WrestleMania. So if it bombed, he could have conceivably lost the WWF if WrestleMania wasn't a hit, if he didn't show a profit. And another rival promoter knew that. So, and this is urban legend, it's never been substantiated or verified, but enough people, I've heard this from not credible sources, but from more than one person, that a rival promoter offered Bruiser Brody $100,000 to go to Madison Square Garden and beat the piss out of Mr. T before the match on his way to the car, either backstage or on the way to the ring.
Wow.
So if that had happened, that would have killed the main event, and that would have made WrestleMania a bomb. But Bruiser Brody turned down the money.
So remember the other thing that came out about 10 years ago now, maybe a little more than that.
Mhm.
when that Starcade DVD came out by the WWF, and this is not. You can file this under. Some of it is the WWE history things,
Mhm.
but it was the David Crockett was the one talking about it, where the Black Saturday
Yes.
and how much Vince sold that time slot back to them,
Mhm.
which was $1 million, which helped fund WrestleMania as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always you're welcome, WCW, NWA.
Mhm. Yeah. And well, I guess that goes back to because Vince apparently offered Harley Race a lot of money to no show the first Starcade. And Harley,
uh,
like, it was a bathroom and there was a briefcase full of money, and and Harley said no. So,
Absolutely not,
so
Vince.
even back then. Last bit of tidbit. The very first WrestleMania. Do you know who sang the national anthem before the first WrestleMania? Trivia questions for you.
Oh, I suck. No, it's terrible. I don't remember.
Any guess, Chris?
No.
Franklin was 3, right?
Yes, Aretha Franklin was three.
Right.
And this wasn't televised, but it started the show. But the person who sang the national anthem at the first WrestleMania, Mean Gene Okerlund.
Yes. I
Okay.
somehow remember hearing that one year.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, again, it wasn't televised. This was before the camera started rolling. But to
I'm
start
trying to
the
picture that. He probably had a great
he
baritone
did.
voice, actually. Yeah. I was gonna
Mhm.
say he probably sang great with that voice. He was
Yeah.
probably like the Gomer Pyle, but you didn't do it like Gomer. Like Jim Neighbors had it. Didn't Steve just mention that today? And I'm just piggybacking off
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
with Joe Exotic, yeah, because you
Yeah.
hear Joe Exotic's music and but you talk like this, and I think it's gonna ruin me financially. But you hear his song, like he sings like this. He's
And then he
like the
turned out
Jeff
his full.
Foxworthy. Yeah, he's the Jeff Foxworthy version of Millie Vanilli because you ever hear Millie Vanilli talk and then you hear the record, it's like, well, that doesn't really
That's
match up.
Something's not really matching up there. I know they
Yeah,
tried at one point. It's still a good single. Um,
no,
no, but that was the Jim Neighbors thing. Although Jim Neighbors put on that voice as Gomer, like, well, I'm just a stupid son of a bitch. And then he'd get on back home again in
yeah.
Indiana.
They even if you ever watch Me, Myself, and Irene, when Jim Carrey is with his kids and they're watching Gomer Pyle and he's singing, and during an episode of Gomer
Oh,
Pyle
that's
he's singing,
right.
and Jim Carrey's like, "Can you believe that? That voice coming out of him? That's Gomer Pyle."
Jim.
Yeah,
But the
but
only difference is Mean Gene didn't put on a. He didn't put on a voice. He just had the
no,
voice. But
he just
at
had the
first, when
voice
you
on.
mentioned that, I was like, "Oh, he probably sings like crap." I'm like, "No, wait, he probably
He
sings
did.
great because it was Mean Gene."
Yes, and he did everything well behind the mic. So so give me a break, Daniel. Come on.
Give me a break. Hey, don't touch me. I got to feed the lawyers.
Don't hey, don't talk. Hey, put out that damn cigarette.
Damn cigarette. I still want to know why. Gee, I wish we could ask him.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was the best. That same day, March 31st, 1985, was the first WrestleMania. But March 31st, 1996 was the 12th WrestleMania. In Anaheim, the Pond, 18,853 people got to see that WrestleMania. Not one of the best ones, known for more bad than good. That was the Piper Goldust Backlot Brawl.
Yeah.
1996. Now, keep in mind, this is 9 years after Piper's retirement match, mind you. The Ultimate Warrior Triple H bout, where Warrior damn near killed Triple H when Triple H gave him that. Warrior, the first person to kick out of the pedigree if you're scoring at home. And that same card, Undertaker defeated Diesel. And what would be Diesel's final WrestleMania match. And that this was the WrestleMania 12 1996 was the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels Iron Man match, which thank God now we can look at and say, yeah, it was an Iron Man match because to watch it live was incredibly boring. Nothing against either one of those guys, but the match, the WrestleMania before, I think it was the Royal Rumble. Triple H and Rock had a Iron Man match, but they were pinfalls after pinfall. That's what made it exciting. These guys, nothing until obviously the overtime, and then Michaels won, and Bret Hart, did the job with the understanding that Michaels would return the favor, which never came.
Never
Later on, going into
wouldn't do the
Survivor
same for
Series
you.
that same year, it still didn't come, and so we could say this was the start of the Montreal, the opening shot, the building block to the Montreal Screwjob. And staying on that date, March 31st, 2008, I talked at the beginning of this segment about a great television moment, or great television moments. The last episode of Nitro and Raw on the same time. Well, on this particular March 31st, 2008, was the Raw farewell to Ric Flair. The previous night, Flair had lost to Shawn Michaels, which we now know wasn't his last match, but their goodbye to Ric Flair on Raw was something special, bringing out guys that played a big part in his career, and they actually recognized the NWA, bringing out Greg Valentine, bringing out Ricky Steamboat, bringing out the remaining four horsemen, JJ, Tully, Arn, and Barry. It was a great moment. Dave Bautista legitimately, in tears and giving Flair a hug. Honestly, because if not Flair giving him the rub, I don't think Batista would have had much of a career. And the ring filling up and his daughters being there before Charlotte had turned pro. It was a great moment, and I just wanted to include that in the Wrestling Historian because that was one of the talking about great moments in television wrestling history. That was one of them, the Ric Flair farewell. Which brings us to today in wrestling history, folks. Going back to numbers, today, April 1st, 1990, WrestleMania 6, Toronto Skydome, 67,678 watching that WrestleMania. Some memorable images. Jake Roberts beat Ted DiBiase beating Jake Roberts for the $1 million belt. During the match, Jake would clothesline Virgil and grab some money, just like Andre the Giant did in WrestleMania, first WrestleMania. Jake Roberts went and tossed out some $100 bills to the crowd. And one of the people that he gave a $100 bill to, sitting at ringside, Mary Tyler Moore. And which prompted a great response from Jesse Ventura saying, yeah, like she needs the money. Also, notables at that particular WrestleMania, when Warrior defeated Hulk Hogan, giving him his first pinfall loss ever in WrestleMania history. But besides Mary Tyler Moore, other people there, driving the pink Cadillac, driving Rhythm and Blues, Honky Tonk Man and Greg Valentine to the ring, was the owner of the pink Cadillac, Diamond Dallas Page. And he
That's right,
because he owned the car, and
he owned the car.
That was his first. And sitting in the 11th row, he said he saw himself on camera in the 11th row at WrestleMania 6, 1990, was the young Adam Copeland.
Lying Canadian.
And staying on this date, WrestleMania 2001, WrestleMania 17, and the Houston Astrodome, 67,925 people there at the Astrodome, and this is one of the best. Some of the memorable things that happened: the Iron Sheik won the gimmick battle royal, starring among other people in that gimmick battle, Repo Man, the Gobbledygooker, Brother Love, and making his WrestleMania wrestling debut, Jim Cornette.
All I can hear is Bobby going just when the Sheik's coming down in the ring.
It's gonna be WrestleMania 18 by the time he gets
no, it's not that. He literally says, by the time he gets to the ring, it'll be WrestleMania 38.
Well, the Iron Sheik won the
because
gimmick
he couldn't
battle
throw him
royal
over the rope.
only because of his hip surgery. The only one he couldn't go over the top rope.
Oh God!
So, Sergeant Slaughter did the honors for him.
I'm not laughing at Sheik. Every time you mention Iron Sheik gimmick battle royal, all I hear is Bobby's head, Bobby's voice in my head. Oh my God! Which was also their return to the WWE, both him and Gene.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh
That was their
man!
first WrestleMania
Whew.
since their time in WCW.
Whew.
Also memorable, Edge and Christian defeated the Hardys and the Dudleys to win the WWE Tag Team Championship match, which would be the last TLC match and the last match those three teams would ever have with each other.
Oh man!
Yeah, and that continued. Well, people forget. Before the Undertaker, Edge was 8-0 in WrestleManias.
Yeah.
And 3 of those were ladder matches. Remember, Edge was the first Money in the Bank winner in a ladder match. So Edge, up until he lost the following Money in the Bank, Edge was 8-0 at WrestleManias. And this was part of his growing legend of being undefeated at WrestleMania. And the main event that night was Steve Austin defeating The Rock and turning heel and joining the corporation with Vince McMahon. And I should point out that going back to March 30th, 2003, when The Rock defeated Steve Austin, that was the third and last time that Rock and Austin had headlined WrestleMania. And going back to March 30th, 2003, that would be Steve Austin's last match ever.
Hold that thought for a second, Craig.
Look at the man with a garbage can. Oh, no. Oh, I'm getting out of here.
The Iron Sheik!
They're looking mean, Gene Okerlund.
Right, you took my hair.
What you had left, both of them.
I'll leave it up to the bushwhackers. Of course, a garbage man would carry a garbage can.
You had the garbage can full of garbage. Maybe he will eventually.
I'll take a look at this.
By the time the Iron Sheik gets to the ring, it'll be WrestleMania 38.
I can't believe I remember. It was 38. Oh my God, I love that man. I love that man for more than words could ever say. God damn it. Sorry, Craig, I had to hear it.
Oh, I had to hear it too. Put it in there. And so yeah, Austin defeats Rocky, turns heel. That would be the second of the 3 times they headline WrestleMania. It's still a WrestleMania record. Austin and Rock are the only people to headline 3 WrestleManias. So that's this week in wrestling history. WrestleMania week, as it were. And that, my friends, is the wrestling historian.
Well, with that being said, it is WrestleMania weekend. We've talked generally about it, but now that it is here, Chris, you first. Is there anything that you are looking forward to now that it's going on? That, like I said, I alluded to Undertaker and AJ earlier. I am really looking forward to that, but just to see what will happen with the 2 of them. But what are you looking for out of all this mess?
I mean, there's a couple of bright spots here, that I'm somewhat interested in. I mean, the Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match, that should be really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're going to crown or at least strap the Rocket to Ripley here, which I'm all for. The Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins should be fantastic. No problem there. And then I'm sort of interested in Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan. I think that could be a bright spot potentially. I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot to really hang your hat on because the main events here. I'm like, okay, certainly the Goldberg Reigns match that's not happening is like, okay, this is going to be weird. And the McIntyre Lesnar thing is just, I think Drew got screwed royally by the coronavirus.
Let's talk superficial here. Let taking into the account that the first half of the show we talked about the impact of WrestleMania and why we're continuing. Look who on a superficial level got effed because of this whole thing.
Sami Zayn, Drew Gulak.
But Sammy less so because Sammy was still in his spot, right? Drew was finally getting the rocket ship glued to his back, and the world's on fire. And I feel really bad.
But Sami Zayn wanted to be Intercontinental Champion since he was 10, and now he gets to be Intercontinental Champion at WrestleMania and potentially in front of 75,000 people, and that moment's gone.
Okay, yeah, Sammy as well.
I mean, nearly everybody is there. Anybody who doesn't really have a WrestleMania moment outside the upper card is gotten completely screwed here. Because
and what about Sting? No,
yeah.
What about Sting?
Or even Rhea Ripley. Her moment's gone. If she's going over. Beating Becky.
Bailey's walking in as champion. She's not going to get that either.
Nope.
Okay, now I'm mad. Now you took it from Bailey. Now I'm mad. Now I'm inconsolable. I can't. No, I did say I said this in jest, but I looked over at Kelly the other night. We're watching. Well, it was Raw, and I said because let me clarify. While the crowd is not there, it takes away. They are still performing, and they're doing it as well as they can. And I said. In the same breath, how are they still performing in front of no people? I'm like, well, most of them are indies, so they know what it's like.
Yeah. And It's a shame they have to go back to their roots with traditionally the biggest weekend in wrestling history.
You know what? Be like a church pastor, let 65,000 in there and see what happens. Go ahead, Chris.
There you go. Why not?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm probably just going to tune in for curiosity's sake, but I honestly hate watching the WWE product now. I can't watch it with no audience. AEW at least has the great idea of putting the other wrestlers around the ring, giving some semblance of noise. Right now the Inner Circle, they're betting, they're throwing money in the ring with moves that they can do. The corner is littered with 20s, 10s and 20s. They're seeing how long they can hold Darby Allin up in a suplex.
I will say this, Chris, and I don't know what you've seen as far as AEW goes, but all of that being said at the top and the end of the show, AEW is presenting it a little better. With what they got.
Sure.
That's just my 2 cents. But
mine too.
Yeah.
Well,
they need MJF on the show, though.
They do, yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
One thing I'm really disappointed about is Edge not going to get this WrestleMania in his return. That's going to be that is disheartening. Although he did get his moment at Rumble, so I mean he at least gets that. But
the more we talk about it, the more I'm just like, just let it go and do it later when everybody can.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I hear you. It's why are you wasting all this with no audience? I don't get it.
That's just my 2 cents. It's just our 6 cents collectively. See what I did there?
Yeah.
2 cents.
Yeah, I see dead people.
I see dead people. Chris, now that we all have a little bit more time, you can come on whenever you want. I mean, you could always come on whenever you want, but I encourage it double if you're getting on to Wednesday and you want to chat.
Yeah.
Come on, because if not, I'll just have to have Harry back on. He'll just make fun of me for 2 hours.
Yeah. And praise me.
Well, like we don't do that. I don't know. I'm just like, I mean, aren't you used to that by now, Dan?
Now that you mention it, I'll you kiss my ass. Chris, Chris, where can people follow? You still? Where can people follow you if you're accepting followers? I don't know your status right now on Twitter.
I'm still on Twitter, and you can still find me at Omega Squad on Twitter.
Craig.
Occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally. Yeah, every now and then when you do tweet, just like Kelly, it is a golden nugget. And I don't mean that as a poop reference. Craig, where can people follow you?
They can follow me at Craig Ligons on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. At CRAIGLIGGEONS.
And I will say this: I throughout this whole worldwide issue, I have the exclusive with Craig now. So follow me on Twitter at DanLaw83 and in the HIAC Talk Radio Network, and the HIAC Wrestling Podcast, because it's not really a network anymore. With VOC Nation, the network is VOC Nation, or thegreatyhicks.com, VOCNation.com. The HIAC Wrestling Podcast is on all social media platforms at HIAC Talk Radio. So for Omega Squad, no, he's down there, and for Craig, I gotta let the point the right. I'm Dan. See you next week. Goodbye.